Welcome everyone to Coping with Personality and Behavior Changes. This is a community education program of Alzheimer's San Diego. My name is Amy Abrams. I'm the Director of Education with Alzheimer's San Diego and delighted today to be co-presenting with my colleague, Jean Alton.
Hi everybody, good afternoon.
We're so glad that you could join us here today, Alzheimer's San Diego. If you're not familiar with us, we are a local nonprofit organization providing an array of free support and services to anyone in San Diego County or elsewhere who is in need of support around issues of memory, cognitive impairment. We'll tell you a little bit more about ourselves at the end of the program here this afternoon. Okay, before we get going on the program, one final thing I really want to say is to share our grateful acknowledgement to our partners on this program. Today we are going to be presenting a concept, a model of response to people who are living with dementia called IDEA. We'll tell you what that is and what it's all about. Much of this program that we're teaching here today and the idea itself, comes to us through these partners. Our sister organization, if you will, Alzheimer's Los Angeles, developed the original version of this curriculum under a grant with funds that came from the Administration for Community Living, with advisement from Stanford Medicine and the Northern California chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. So we gratefully acknowledge all of their contributions to this program here today. With that, I'm going to turn things over to Jean.
Okay, so let's get started here, folks. What we are going to be talking about and discussing here, covering here today is why do we see changes in personality and behavior in people living with dementia? And I'm going to give you the tough news straight up from the top is Amy and I, much as we wish we were able and had the answers for you that would just work 100% of the time for all people living with a diagnosis of some type of dementia, we don't, which is why we are going to be introducing to you this concept that's going to require you doing some trial and error with things to figure out what works with your person living with dementia, and to figure out what works on any particular day with your person with dementia. So have patience with us as we talk you through this concept. And please know that we have, I think just kind of, I'm going to say just great respect and understanding, I think, of you folks who are care partners and how challenging this is. And if we ever get that perfect answer that's there for you, you'll all be the first to know. We'll be right here with it for you. So in talking about why do behaviors and personalities change in people with dementia, we're going to be talking specifically about the changes that are going on in the brain that's causing that, that's affecting personality and behavior. We're going to talk about what you can do to address these changes. And again, kind of the disclaimer, not what you can do to get the person to change their behavior, but rather what you can do in your response to them. And we're going to be talking also about how to handle your reactions. And this is really a big piece of it because, again, we go back to the very real fact of things that being a care partner can be very challenging. And there's a whole mix of emotions that is coupled with our reactions and responses to people. And that's kind of true through life, generally speaking, but I think it's far more challenging when we're talking about working with someone we care about or care for living with dementia, and how we manage these challenging situations. So let's get into that a little bit, shall we? So let's start with this. I have to tell you, I just love this slide because I think it's very zen. Take a deep breath. And that's what I want you to do right now is sit tall in your chair. Make sure your back is straight, shoulders are square. Take a deep breath from down deep in your diaphragm and breathe in through the nose and out through your mouth. And this is something important for all of us to do, and especially when we're in stressful situations. 3 deep breaths is about the time it takes for us to kind of reset our brain so that we can be responding to people from a more logical kind of part of our brain, a more thinking part of our brain, versus reacting with a more emotional response. So that's why we take this deep breath. So I want you to continue doing that as we go throughout our presentation. Now, see, there's always some kind of little fumble here with, with our control here. Amy and I are slowly working it out, but we still
we're getting there.
What is dementia? And so what I'm going to invite you to do in chat is tell us what you think dementia is. What is it? What is dementia? I want you to also be thinking about, what does a person with dementia look like? What do they look like? Who gets dementia? And what causes it? So let's have a look here. Amy, are you getting some answers?
Yeah, let me see. I think a good answer here is a set of question marks, right? Really not sure. Dementia is pretty mysterious.
Right.
Memory loss, changes in the brain is malfunctioning. The brain is not functioning the way that it usually does. It's a disease of the brain. People with dementia don't look any different from anyone else. Cognitive decline, forgetfulness.
Yeah, for sure. Cognitive decline and forgetfulness. Those are probably 2 of the symptoms that would come to mind fairly quickly for most of us when we're saying, well, what are the symptoms? What are the changes that we see in a person with dementia? You mentioned, what does a person, to the question, what does a person with dementia look like? And the answer was, they look, what was the answer? I can't remember.
Like anyone else. Yeah, they don't look any different. Yeah.
Right. Like anyone else, like all the rest of us. And that's really a fantastic answer because it's true. Sometimes later on in the dementia process, we feel like we can see some physical changes because people may have a look that is communicating to us that they look more confused or uncertain. But for goodness sakes, I get that look on my face in the parking lot when I'm looking for my car and I can't remember where I parked it. So we have to be careful to understand that people with dementia, they are all of us, all sizes and shapes, all colors, male, female, and a variety of ages too. This is not just something that happens to people who are older. Any other things come up in chat there, Amy?
First, I just want to say there was a question. Am I the only one here? No, there's lots of you participating. I know you can't see each other and you can't see the numbers. So if you are sharing something in the chat for the benefit of the rest of the group, just make sure you click that little drop-down menu so that it says all panelists and attendees, and then everyone can see your chats. But Jean and I can see your chats just fine. So there's an interesting comment here that someone who disagrees that people with dementia don't necessarily look like everyone else, that there is sort of a vacant look that this person recognizes in people living with dementia.
And we may see that in our particular person that we are caring for living with dementia. I have seen that in some of the clients I have worked with. And I've also seen the opposite end of things where I've seen people that, and communicated with people not knowing that they had a diagnosis of dementia.
Yes. Yes.
You know, so we
Yeah,
see.
there's also a good observation that people with dementia often have poor insight, which we'll be talking
Yeah,
about a bit here
we'll be
today.
talking about that specifically. So, you know, we see that there's great variability here. So what we're going to do next is we are going to have a look at a video that is really good, that gives us just a nice brief overview of what is Alzheimer's disease. And this is specific to Alzheimer's disease. In this particular video, for the purposes of our class here today, we will be talking about dementia, which includes Alzheimer's disease and also other types of dementia. So Amy, would you mind to just get that video going for us?
Surely.
What is Alzheimer's disease? Alzheimer's is a slow, fatal disease of the brain affecting 1 in 10 people over the age of 65. No one is immune. The disease comes on gradually as 2 abnormal protein fragments called plaques and tangles accumulate in the brain and kill brain cells. They start here in the hippocampus, the part of the brain where memories are first formed. Over many years' time, the plaques and tangles slowly destroy the hippocampus, and it becomes harder and harder to form new memories. Simple recollections from a few hours or days ago that the rest of us might take for granted are just not there. After that, more plaques and tangles spread into different regions of the brain, killing cells and compromising function wherever they go. This spreading around is what causes the different stages of Alzheimer's. From the hippocampus, the disease spreads here to the region of the brain where language is processed. When that happens, it gets tougher and tougher to find the right word. Next, the disease creeps toward the front of the brain, where logical thought takes place. Very gradually, a person begins to lose the ability to solve problems, grasp concepts, and make plans. Next, the plaques and tangles invade the part of the brain where emotions are regulated. When this happens, the patient gradually loses control over moods and feelings. After that, the disease moves to where the brain makes sense of things it sees, hears, and smells. In this stage, Alzheimer's wreaks havoc on a person's senses and can spark hallucinations. Eventually, the plaques and tangles erase a person's oldest and most precious memories, which are stored here in the back of the brain. Near the end, the disease compromises a person's balance and coordination, and in the very last stage, it destroys the part of the brain that regulates breathing and the heart. The progression from mild forgetting to death is slow and steady, and takes place over an average of 8 to 10 years. It is relentless and, for now, incurable. Helping your family, friends, and neighbors to better understand Alzheimer's will reduce stigma, improve care, and even help the fight for a cure. Thanks for helping to do your part. Learn more at www.aboutalz.org.
Good. So that's a good and concise video just describing what's going on in the brain when a person has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. And so how do we translate that to challenging situations with behaviors, with personality change? Well, clearly there's been damage being done to different parts of the brain that are the different parts that govern some things like feelings and emotions and responses. And so when that damage is being done to the brain, we may see our folks living with Alzheimer's seeing or hearing things that aren't there. And It may be that they're misinterpreting what they're seeing visually or hearing, or they may in fact be hallucinating and hearing and seeing things. And, I think I should have said this right at the start, but, our brains are amazingly complex, intricate organs, and the things our brains can do is amazing. And the things that even the brain that's under attack with a disease does is oftentimes challenging, but it's just incredible how the brain continues to function and to try and take in the information from the environment and the surroundings to process that information. So a person with Alzheimer's may also get lost at home or in the community. And again, because the part of the brain that kind of governs our ability to navigate and use our memory to be able to move in familiar environments comfortably is being damaged. They may become combative, and it may be raising a fist or lashing out a little bit, or actually, hitting somebody and pushing them away. We'll talk about why that may happen in different scenarios. People with dementia often have sleep problems. This would be one of the symptoms that happens to a good number of folks with dementia at some point in time. And that's a challenge because absolutely, if our people living with dementia are having problems having a good night's sleep, then for sure the care partner is impacted by that as well too. They may refuse to take pills. This is not an uncommon scenario either. And we'll talk a little bit about the specifics of that. It may be that they want to be in control and in charge. They're saying, no, I can manage my own medication. I don't need your help. There may be some paranoia or suspicious thought that is behind the refusal to take pills. I think that person is trying to poison me. They're trying to make me out of it so they can take over my house and my finances. They may not trust others. Again, kind of that suspiciousness and paranoia. And I think of more than a few clients, but I think of one client I worked with in particular when I was a geriatric care manager. Was somebody was stealing my client's purse and money all the time. And, she was she did not trust people in her home. She was always hiding her purse because she didn't trust them. And this fed into the whole thing about then people were taking her purse because she couldn't find it then. So, and folks with dementia can be confused, and that's a very common symptom that we see as well too, that can lead to these behavior challenges. If you're trying to help somebody with dementia to say, have a shower, and they're confused about who you are and what your intentions are, that's going to potentially lead to a troublesome encounter with your person living with dementia. They may repeat questions. This is probably one of the most universal situations that we see with people with dementia, and it can be a great source of frustration, as I'm sure many of you folks can attest to, hearing that same question over and over and over again. And so all of these different things may or may not happen. What are some of the good things? Is it's not likely that you're going to have all of these things happening at the same time. So don't, I hope you're not feeling like overwhelmed by this slide. Usually what we see is, people may have one particular type of behavior challenge that's going on, or maybe two, and then they kind of transition from that, and then maybe there's something else that's going on. Amy, would you agree with me? I mean, I honestly can't think in my 30 years of doing this work that I've seen somebody who's kind of had all of these things going on at the same time.
Right. It would be exceptionally rare, maybe for a short period of time while the person is having some kind of a medical issue going on. But yeah.
Yeah. So don't, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by this, and just know that we're going to take this concept, this idea concept, and help you folks to be able to look at the thing or the situation or whatever it is that's happening with your person living with dementia, and apply the concept, and whatever that thing is that's going on in your home and in your relationship could be any one of these situations or something entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's just pause for a moment and see if people have some questions. First of all, about dementia itself. We don't want to go into super big detail about specific questions about dementia, but we certainly can direct any of you folks to some of our other classes and other options to get your questions answered. But let's just see, what kind of questions do you maybe have?
Yeah, there's a question here, Jean, about the stages of the disease. The question isn't about the stages, but maybe could you give a quick introduction to this, how we stage Alzheimer's and other types of dementia? Yes. And then how does a doctor know what stage the person is in?
Well, I'll tell you, there's all sorts of different models for staging that are out there, and you folks may have encountered or heard of the numerical stages. Some of them are like 1 to 4, or there's, I think, another one that's 1 to 8. So a client will call and say, well, my mom is in stage 7. And we don't utilize those numerical stages at Alzheimer's San Diego because there's great variability in them. And so what we talk about really is the early or mild stage of the disease progression, and then the middle stage, the moderate stage of disease progression, and then the late stage, the end stage of the disease progression. And those are very loose, and people don't fit into just one stage neatly and then move into the other stage over a 24-hour period. We may have folks who seem like they're mostly in the early stages, the mild stages, but they have 1 or 2 different things going on that would suggest maybe there's been some disease progression in some part of the brain. Mm-hmm. How do doctors tell what stage people are at? I think doctors are able to kind of look at all the different information that they get from all the different medical evaluations and testing that they do, to be able to, again, give some little bit of guidance as to where people are in the disease progression. But I think doctors would say the same thing, is there's just great variability, and we can't precisely pinpoint where people are. What do you think, Amy?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, we generally just use the amount of assistance that a person needs with personal care to guide our sense of where they might be. There is definitely no clear line at which you've moved from early to middle, but in the early stage of the disease, a person is not likely to need any help with basic daily care tasks. Whereas in the middle stages, a person probably does need, if not physical help, at least some reminders for doing kind of daily bathing, getting dressed, taking medications, those kinds of things.
Right. Yeah.
There are a few questions, comments in the chat about the difference, the relationship between the word dementia and Alzheimer's disease. So just a quick point of clarification. I'll say if you want to know more about the other types of dementia, please attend our Dementia 101 class or visit the About Dementia page on our website. There's tons of information available for you. But a quick answer to that question is that Alzheimer's disease is a type of dementia. So dementia is this larger category of all of the different medical conditions that cause all those symptoms that Jean has been talking about. Alzheimer's disease falls under the umbrella of dementia. So there are many other types. We often just use the word we use the word Alzheimer's kind of broadly and inappropriately, frankly, because every person with dementia does not have Alzheimer's disease, but far and away, it's the most common type that we see. And again, I'll refer you on to our Dementia 101 class or to the website or just call our office and our social workers can get you that information if you need it. Also, there is a question about language. Jean, I'll just read this. I have a question about language capabilities and forgetting words. My mother's native language is French. She's reverting to that. Is that a symptom of dementia?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't know. Would that be a symptom of dementia? I guess there's a possibility. It's something that we do see in some folks living with dementia, is a tendency to revert if they are bilingual with 2 or more languages. They tend to revert to their first language, their native language. So is it dementia or not? I mean, I think if you could get your mother in to see her primary physician, at least to start, and then if warranted, continue on to see a neurologist. As far as that goes, the people that I have talked to and work with that revert back to their native languages that have dementia, it's quite complicated. And I'm going to give you an example as an answer. A family that I worked with where the woman living with dementia was Japanese. She spoke English well. She started to revert back to Japanese, but she didn't have insight into that herself. She believed she was communicating in English. So her daughter would say to her mom, speak English, and she would reply in Japanese, I am speaking English. So, again, that's just going back to just the complexities of our brains. How does that happen in the brain? I don't know the answer to that question, but it does happen.
Yes. Yeah, it's hard to say. I think to Jean's point, it's hard for us to know in that individual person, is that a symptom of dementia in them? It would be hard for us to say, but certainly that primary and secondary language confusion does happen to people with dementia. Yeah. So one final question I'll read here, and then I know we need to keep moving here, but it's a good one. And it actually, it relates to another sort of comment I see in the chat about insight. If the person is in that middle stage and they're in denial, or what looks like denial, how could I convince the person to go to the doctor to be evaluated?
Well, that is a really good question. And I would like to kind of defer answering on it till we hear Amy's presentation here of our content. And then we're going to go on a little further. We're going to see some videos where we've got some scenarios where a person living with dementia is got their own ideas about how they want to do things. And we might say they're in denial. And we're going to see how kind of the good and the not so good responses of a care partner to that. So let me just say, we know that about half of the people living with some diagnosis of dementia have what we call anosognosia, which is Greek in its roots, if I remember correctly, Amy, and it means without disease awareness or knowledge. In other words, they are not necessarily in denial, but they have no insight into their cognitive decline, memory loss, and so forth. So that happens in lots of folks. With this anosognosia, there is no convincing them to be done. That's not the approach that works. But we'll talk about some approaches that often are successful.
Yeah, convincing people is a really hard impulse to try to control as care partners, convincing them of anything, right? Jean was talking about that refusal to accept help. That's really what's at the core of that too. It isn't necessarily that I don't want you to help me with that task. A lot of the time it's that I, as the person living with dementia, don't know that I need help with that. So what are you even doing here in my space? Yeah, it's a complicated concept. Okay. All right. Well, let's hear from you if we can. We'll just take a few minutes here, but it really helps us to understand what some of your current challenges are as care partners to people living with dementia. We really want you to see each other's responses here too. So in the chat, if you would take a moment, make sure again that you set your chat settings so that it's going out to all the panelists and the attendees, so all your fellow webinar attendees can see your answer. This is strictly optional. You don't need to do this, but tell us briefly who you help. Is it a family member? Is it a parent? Is it a friend, a spouse, a child? And what is one change you've seen in this person lately? Something they do differently, a change in their personality. We'd love to see your responses. Lots of folks caring for parents, my friend, my neighbor, a husband with Lewy body dementia. That's the second most common type of dementia. A person who works with seniors, someone who has a lot of, has clients who have paranoia, helping my mother, a lack of interest in bathing. Boy, I bet you're not alone. Husband has a lot of rage, anger, agitation, unfortunately, can happen. Here we have a long distance caregiver. My mom is in San Diego, but this person is in Portland, hearing things, thinks people want to take her house, that paranoia that Jean is talking about. More paranoia, refusing to take meds, bedtime is a struggle, challenges with language. I bet a lot of you are seeing that, having a hard time completing sentences, a younger sister with a primary progressive aphasia, a less common form of dementia, a father with dementia dementia is progressing quickly. It's another one of the great challenges of this disease is that everybody's symptoms are going to be different, as Jean has described, but also how quickly the disease progresses is very different person to person. Sundowning, confusion, thinking there's people outside that need help, difficulty with sleep, getting lost in one's own apartment, one's own home, right? Getting the cupboards mixed up or the rooms or the hallways. Caring for someone who lives in assisted living. Now I see lots of references to challenges in how much the person is aware of what's going on with them. There's that anosognosia concept that Jean was talking about. Difficulty recognizing one's surroundings. So there is a lot that you all are coping with here. Thank you for sharing. Please continue to share. I think there's a lot of power in seeing the range of experiences that people have in Alzheimer's disease and other types of dementia. As Jean was describing, no two people are going to have the same experience, and no one person is going to have every symptom, right? There are always little bright spots. There are always little gifts and abilities and strengths we can find in the person. But I think it can be very empowering to see this. You are not alone. There are a lot of folks struggling here. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep moving here, please. We're reading these. We're so grateful to you for being here, and we hope that it helps bring some comfort to know you're not alone. Now let's talk a little bit about what we can do to respond to these challenging behaviors when we encounter them. So here is an introduction to IDEA. This is the acronym that we were describing at the beginning. IDEA is a 3-step approach to figuring out what is going on here if we can. We do our best to figure out what's going on here, explore what might be behind it, and then make some kind of an adjustment. And I'm going to give you a little preview here. The adjustment often has to do with ourselves, making some kind of a change in what we're doing or saying or how we're responding to this situation. But sometimes if we can figure out, what's triggering a particular behavior, we can make an adjustment in the person's environment and stop it from happening. So very important to recognize all behavior means something. Behavior is a form of communication, which we cover in some detail in our communication skills program here at Alzheimer's San Diego. So if you've not taken that particular class or webinar with us in the past, it is a nice companion to this program. Not required, of course, but it might be helpful if you are finding yourself experiencing communication challenges with the person that you care for. We talk about behavior as it's just this person's out of character response to some type of stimulus. It could be internal stimulus. It could be something going on in the environment. It could be a response to you, but behavior is an attempt to communicate something. So we want to ask ourselves, when we see this behavior, all of these very powerful examples that you all have been sharing in the chat, somebody who's up in the middle of the night, somebody who thinks that someone is trying to take their house from them. What is that person trying to say when they say that, right? What does that behavior actually mean to them? We know what it looks like to us, right? It looks like denial. It looks like sleep disturbance. It looks like paranoia. But put yourself in their shoes. Remember those brain changes that Jean talked about and that you saw described in that video. What does this behavior actually mean to them? Is it an attempt to communicate that I'm feeling some kind of an emotion here? I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm fearful, right? Things aren't working the way I expect them to. Might it be a reflection of this person being uncomfortable? Are they stiff from arthritis? Do they have a headache? Do they have to go to the bathroom? Are they experiencing some kind of an illness? We'll talk more about that here in a moment. Remember, just like any of the rest of us, having a headache, having pain, having a poor night's sleep, being under stress, or just perceiving that you're under stress or under some kind of a threat, all of those things affect how we function. Right? Our memory is not as good after we've had a poor night of sleep. Our thinking, our problem-solving abilities are slowed down when we are fighting a cold or a flu, right? That's the case for all of us, and it's definitely the case for people with dementia. And a lot of the time, behavior is simply an expression of kind of restlessness, right? I'm not getting enough activity, or I'm not getting enough social stimulation, or enough sort of connection with you or the other people around me through this activity that we're doing. Right, sitting together, reading the newspaper may have been a beloved activity between the two of us when both of our brains were healthy and we could both read the articles and talk and share our opinions and insights about what's going on. But now, right, maybe us sitting here reading the paper together, if I'm living with dementia, I may not be able to absorb the story. This may frustrate me, right? I may be missing some of that connection I used to have with you. So keeping in mind that a person with dementia often can't verbally tell us, here's what I'm feeling physically, here's what I'm feeling emotionally. And so they're going to tell us that through some kind of a behavior. Very important to keep in mind, the person is not doing this on purpose. Now, you know your person, and it could very well be that they have a long history of pushing your buttons because they like to do it, they enjoy sort of ribbing you, needling you. That may very well be the case. But when we're talking about personality and behavior changes that emerge after a person has disease in their brain, we really want to give them the benefit of the doubt here. In all likelihood, they are not doing any of these things on purpose. They're not doing it to annoy you or irritate you. They're not trying to be manipulative. I saw a comment in the chat about how a person can really kind of perform at the doctor's office. It's very, very common. It's not usually something they're doing on purpose. Their hormones are up. They are feeling better. They are feeling more sharp, and that is reflected in their interactions with the doctor in that moment. right? So when a person forgets and keeps asking you the same question over and over again, they're not doing that because they're not listening to you, right? They don't remember asking the question. So we really ask that you keep in mind those images, those examples that you saw in that video. Remember that behavior is a symptom of this person's disease, changes to the personality, things they say and do now that they never would have said or done before. These are not things that the person is doing on purpose. We want to try to give them some grace and give them the benefit of that doubt. Something very important to keep in mind, which I mentioned briefly here a moment ago, is that a sudden change in behavior is not a normal progression of the typical symptoms of Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. We will see a long, slow decline over time. That is totally normal. What we are not likely to see is a very dramatic change from this morning to this evening, right? I was pretty lucid, I was pretty sharp and conversational this morning, and tonight you come back over or we talk again on the phone and I can't verbally communicate with you. I'm completely disoriented. I don't recognize who you are. That significant change in a short period of time usually means there's something medical going on, right? Really dramatic confusion, disorientation that sets in really fast. Combative behavior that, again, the person was not exhibiting a short time ago, sudden incontinence, and then, of course, physical things like experiencing fever or seizures. All of these things are indications that something, it could be an infection, it could be an illness, it could be pain, it could be anxiety or depression, right? There's many different things that can go on and that will contribute to a person's memory and cognitive function, but also that will significantly change their personality and their behavior. This is very important to keep in mind, and know that not all healthcare professionals recognize that somebody who presents at the emergency room with a sudden change in orientation, confusion, agitation, that could very well be something like a urinary tract infection, right? You sometimes need to be the advocate that says, this isn't normal, this isn't baseline for my person. We need to get this person medically evaluated. So don't hesitate to ask those questions. So IDEA is the 3-step approach to trying to figure out what exactly is going on here. We start by identifying the behavior and being very specific and objective in our description of the behavior. Try to separate out your kind of personal assessment of how this person and how they would have done this activity before. Try to separate that out and be as objective as you can in your explanation of the behavior. Exploring what's going on. What does it mean? What is the underlying cause that's driving that behavior? And then brainstorming possible things that you can do to make an adjustment. So identifying the behavior, describe it, right? As though, pretend you're describing it to me or Jean. We don't know this person. This can be a very helpful way to again, kind of separate your personal history and your bias, right? About how you think this person should be doing this. Do other people see this the same way, right? Does this behavior bother them, or is it only bothering you? Right. An example I think of often is a client that I worked with back in my days as a geriatric care manager, who would spend hours and hours of her day out in the driveway picking up leaves, sorting gravel in the driveway. This drove her family bananas, right? This isn't what she should be doing. This is a professional woman. She's highly intelligent. If anybody else who didn't know her or didn't know her family sort of pulled up to that driveway and saw her out there, they'd see a woman outside enjoying the sunshine, out in her garden, in her flowers, picking up the leaves, making things pretty and tidy, right? So describe the behavior and really kind of check your assumptions about what this person is doing and whether or not it is actually problematic. Many times it is. I don't mean to dismiss problematic behavior, right? But keep in mind, if they're doing something that's out of character for them, but it's not harming them and it isn't harming anyone else, right? Might it be something that we can let go? explore why that behavior is occurring. What does it mean to that person, right? Is the fact that this person is choosing to go outside and spend all day, moving little pieces of gravel around and playing with the leaves, what might that mean to her? Does she need more physical movement during the day, right? Being in the house was not satisfying her physical needs. She wants to feel productive, right? She wants to be a caretaker of her home and her property, right? What does that behavior actually mean to that person? What is this person trying to accomplish? So a lot of the time we'll see behavior like rummaging, where a person is really, moving things around the house, opening drawers, getting into things, right? That often, that person is trying to accomplish something. So if we really deeply explore that, maybe we can figure out what this behavior actually means to them and help them feel a little more kind of in control or comfortable in their current environment. And then the final step is to make those adjustments, right? Remember that we can't change what's going on in their brain, right? You have to be the one that's going to make this change. We can't ask the person with dementia to stop doing what they're doing, right? You can influence their behavior by figuring out, oh gosh, maybe how long has it been since they had a drink of water, had a snack, got outside for a walk, right? Participated in, saw the grandkids, right? Maybe they're feeling socially disconnected. You may be able to influence that behavior. You may be able to change something about this person's environment, but often this adjustment that we need to make is us, right? Remember that the power of that deep breath that Jean was talking about at the beginning of the program. This is how you facilitate that. Instead of sort of going with your gut reaction and saying something real quick, right? You take a deep breath and think to yourself, idea, right? What's this behavior? What might it actually mean to them? What can I do differently, right, in this environment or in my interaction that's going to change the course of this behavior? So we're going to get now, we're going to get to the videos here. Is that right?
Yes, we are. Mm-hmm.
Great.
So these videos that are coming up, as you watch them, think about all these things that we see here listed on the slide. Think about what you're seeing that's happening and what may be causing the behavior that the person who is portraying the person living with dementia is doing. What's causing the behavior? And then think about what the behavior means to that person living with dementia. And think about if that was you in the care partner's shoes, how you might respond. And so let's just get started here with that.
Oh, if I may, I wanted to show folks this website, if I can.
Oh, I apologize.
Pause for a second. Yeah, sorry, Jean, I forgot about that. We're gonna watch one example of a terrific series of videos that UCLA has put together, and I want to show you what this video library looks like here. It's going to take me just 1 second to show you this screen.
And it's a really fantastic video library, which is why we want you to see it.
There, is that sharing now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so you see, and in the handouts, which we'll email out to you, you see the website here, uclahealth.org. They have a dementia caregiver education page on their website. So the video that we're about to show you comes from this library of videos put together by the folks at UCLA. So you can see here, they have a video similar to what we're about to watch on a whole host of different behavioral issues. It's a really wonderful resource. Wanted to make sure that you were aware of. So now we'll go ahead and get that back up. Okay.
Excellent.
So as you watch, again, think back to those questions that Jean just reminded you of. Try that idea process here. What is going on? What do you think the person with dementia is really trying to communicate here? And put yourself in this daughter's shoes for a moment and imagine what you would be doing.
become resistant to my help, and she's now hard to handle. She hasn't been able to manage her basic day-to-day needs without my help, but she believes she doesn't have any problems and doesn't need help. She's easily agitated and gets upset when I try to get her dressed. I'm just frustrated and I don't know what to do. Mom, where are you? Mom, you're gonna be late for your doctor's appointment. Are you seriously planning on wearing that? It's 80 degrees outside, Mom. Okay, look, let's wear this instead. We don't have time, okay? Let's hurry. Mom, oh God, what is wrong with you?
Leave me alone. I can do it.
No, Mom, let me, gosh.
Leave me alone.
I can help you, Mom.
I don't need your help. God, leave me alone. Get out.
Do this to me.
Agitation and anxiety can manifest as difficulty sitting still, pacing, fidgeting, acting irritable, afraid, nervous, worried, or just being resistive to help from others. The behaviors are often triggered by a feeling of loss of control, misperceiving situations or actions as threats, unmet needs, inability to communicate clearly, and frustration with tasks or interactions with family and caregivers. Changes in a usual routine can also cause agitation and anxiety. People with dementia, for example, may have impaired insight towards their own cognition and ability level due to their disease. For this reason, they have a hard time understanding their limitations about what they can and cannot do. They may not realize that they need help, as they do not see themselves as having problems. This can lead to agitation when someone tries to help them. How one approaches a person with dementia makes a difference. If you feel angry, impatient, or frustrated, or if you rush someone or seem irritable, they can sense your mood and react with apprehension, resistance, anxiety, and agitation. Agitation can then escalate to inappropriate behaviors, such as hitting or biting. It is very important to remember that persons with dementia react and respond to how a caregiver approaches them. How you speak to them is key.
Good morning, Mom. How you feeling?
I'm all right.
Okay, what would you like to wear today? You look good in the green or the blue? Which color do you want to try today?
I don't need your help. I can do it myself.
Okay. I'm sorry that I made you feel that way, okay? You're doing very, very well, and I'm just here to help in case you need me. I know you can do it yourself very well. I love you so much, and I just want to be here when you need me. Can I stay with you? We can do this together? Okay, good. So we are going to go to the doctor's, and then we can go get some ice cream. How does that sound?
Oh, that sounds good.
Okay, let's get you dressed, Mom. Let's lose this. We want you to be comfortable, after all. Let's see. Yeah, I think this is going to look good. Perfect.
Here are a few tips on how to respond to agitation and anxiety. Allow ample time to complete tasks and don't rush your loved one. Use a gentle tone of voice, but do not be condescending. Try to keep your body language positive and use calming gestures and a gentle touch. Don't be demanding or bark orders at your loved one. Instead, provide reassurance. Speak in calming tones and phrases. Let the individual know you're there for support. Try to schedule activities around your loved one's natural routines. For instance, if your loved one is a late riser, plan doctor's appointments for the afternoon. Simplify the environment to reduce frustration or confusion. For example, thin out the closet so that it is easier for your loved one to see inside. Have fewer clothing options to choose from, and clothes that are easy to put on.
So again, this video library that UCLA provides has a video similar to this on a whole host of different topics. So all of you, we'll ask, you can certainly respond to us in the chat. And Jean, I'm gonna put you right on the spot right now and ask you, what did you see that was different about that second scenario with the daughter?
Well, what I saw was different is the daughter, from the moment she went in the room on the first video, she had an agenda, and it was her agenda, and they were running late, and she was going to make this agenda happen really quickly. In the second video, she slowed everything right down. And, you know, she started by she greeted her mom in a happy, loving way. She didn't just jump in right away to take control of the situation. I think there was a moment where in that first video, you know, it was the control was one of the problems, was the issue.
Right, right. I can sort of imagine that. I noticed that too, just the difference in the first words you hear out of the daughter's mouth in the first and second videos, the words themselves, but also just her tone.
Right.
So I like to kind of imagine that before that second one, she's pausing right behind the door and taking those deep breaths, right? Saying to herself, okay, she's in there putting that vest on right now, and I'm not going to walk in charging and demanding that she take it off. You know, let's be kind and reassuring here. Yeah. There's another moment I really love, tell me everyone if you caught this, where she wants to get that flannel off of mom in the second video, but she never asks her to do it. She doesn't engage in negotiation or, you know, struggle or telling her why she needs to do it. Right? She just kind of like, let's get this off. And while she's talking about something else, she just gently undoes those bottom two buttons, gives it a little tug, and then mom kind of knows what to do, right? She's kind of started what needs to happen without getting too deep into the weeds with her. I love that move.
Yeah. Because, you know, in the first video, how you know, what any of us, we don't want people just jumping in and putting their hands on us and wrestling our clothing off of us.
Yes.
We're grown adults. We can, she said, I can do this myself.
Yes, right. She made it very clear. And a person won't always say that to you directly, right? But when they're swatting you away or yelling or, you know, being combative or in other ways refusing your help, that's what they're saying, right? I got this. I don't need your help. Yeah. So we have someone responding in the chat who says, I saw a difference in the mom, right? She didn't know, oh, this is a good observation. She didn't know how to respond or what to say in the second scenario versus she felt defensive. She took a defensive stance in the first video.
I would agree. And I think, you know, between the first and the second, what we saw in the second video was the daughter came in and engaged her mom. So it was a team effort. She said, let's do this together. She said, made reference to, I just want you to know that I love you. So it was a team effort rather than her coming in to get something done and, you know,
yes,
do it for her mother.
Yes. Yeah. So all together now, I'd love just to see, hear everybody's feedback on these questions. What is the behavior that mom was exhibiting in this video? What was actually happening there? Anyone have care to venture a guess on that? Okay. Sorry, I've got airplanes going overhead. If you have an answer, go ahead, write that in the chat there. Right? She was feeling She was feeling
I've seen-
defensive.
Yeah, defensiveness, because she's trying to be independent.
Yeah, I like this answer. Agitation, right? This is how we, coming in as an outsider or maybe as that frustrated daughter, we would say she's agitated, right? Yeah. Whereas I can see that many of you can see what's actually behind that, right? She's trying to assert, I want to be in control here. I want to do this independently, right? I love this self-worth, right?
Yes.
Being able to take care of our own stuff makes us, feel better about ourselves.
Right.
She was feeling frustrated.
Asserting independence and self-worth. We might look at it and from an observer standpoint say, oh, mom was being combative with the daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But was she? I believe that this answer I think is great. She was asserting independence and self-worth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like to sort of imagine any one of us were in our closet getting dressed this morning and somebody else walked in and started helping us with that task, right? Imagine what that feels like. You would wonder what they're doing. You would be sure you don't need their help. And most of us, I know myself, I would be trying to get that person out of my space for sure.
Yeah, I would too.
So what did that behavior mean, not to the daughter, but to the mother? I think you just nailed it, right? She's asserting control, right? Yes. I can do this myself. Yeah. Honestly, how would you have responded if you're that daughter in that moment? Now let's be kind to ourselves. We're not perfect here. This may be a fight. This may be a struggle that this mom and daughter have every day. And so there could be a very normal, natural reason that daughter walked in ready for a fight in that first video, right?
Absolutely. Maybe the daughter didn't have a good night's sleep. The other thing is care partners, they've got a lot to do over the course of a 24-hour day. And, they need, some of the motivation is that we do need to get these things done. Doctor's appointments are important.
Yes.
So sometimes the time crunch is such that, we have a day like that where we do come in, kind of guns blaring and like, let's get this done.
Yes. Someone said here, I love this very honest answer, and it's 100% true for me too. I would have used too many words in this situation, right? That's the $1 million answer right there. There is a natural tendency that we all have. We're trying to get someone to do something or to see things our way or to respond to us in a certain way. And when we don't get the reaction that we're looking for, our natural inclination is to just, over explain, give them lots more words, give them a good argument for why they need to do this thing. For all of the reasons that Jean described at the beginning of the program, when we think about those brain changes, more words, more information doesn't usually help.
No, I agree. I just want to mention a couple of responses here that are really fantastic. We've got one of our attendees saying, get some respite once a week for a break.
Yes.
And we will come back to that towards the end of our class here today, but that's absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
And another great contribution here, that it takes some time as a care partner to get used to planning far enough ahead that we aren't frantic in that moment. So that's a strategy that requires kind of planning ahead.
Yes, when we think about brainstorming those adjustments, the A step in IDEA, think about, are there things you can do, tick off some of the things you thought were going to get done today, right? Yes. Kind of triaging that to-do list. Maybe we have one or two less things that we're going to accomplish, but we're going to get them done with a lot less drama and tension.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Someone here said everything seems to take longer. Absolutely true. We often say, every task, every conversation, everything that needs to get done, when it involves a person who's got the symptoms of dementia, right? They think differently, they solve problems differently, right? Give yourself maybe 2 or 3 times as much time as you think that task should take. right? So that you're not walking into that situation frustrated, stressed, rushed, to the extent that, you can.
There's another little ditty that's really good. And just the summary of it is, I'm just going to say it's, pick your battles. And that's another good adjustment part of the idea concept.
Yes.
Is, some battles that we create into battles is, again, because we have our own agendas and our own opinions and thoughts. And sometimes we just let those things go.
Yeah. Yeah. I see a couple really good, honest responses here that, I probably would have backed away, right? So throw my hands up and say, okay, you're going to wear 4 layers to the doctor, even though it's summer, right? And then I would have dealt with the aftermath of that later. Maybe you can be more successful later in peeling a layer off once you get outside, or maybe you could just blast the AC in the car on the way to the doctor, right? Maybe this isn't the battle we're going to have right now.
Right.
I think that's a good, honest approach. Yeah. Great. Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Oops, sorry.
Right.
Having trouble with my, there we go. Okay. So there it is in summary. Identify the behavior, right? Describe it objectively, be specific, explore what it means to them, right? And brainstorm some of what those underlying causes might be. And then importantly, make those adjustments, brainstorm what you could do differently. So what we'd like for you to do is just think. You can do this on notes. You can just do this mentally. You're also welcome to throw it into the chat if you come up with some good ideas and you want to share. But think about what you told us at a few minutes ago when we asked you what's something that's going on with the person that you care for. What personality change are you seeing? What behavior are you up against frequently? Describe that behavior now, right? Try to describe it with a little more objectivity, right? If I walked into your home or their home and saw this happening, what would I think is happening, right? And then now thinking about all of these different things that might trigger behavior, knowing the person as you do, what do you think what might they really be trying to communicate? And what can you try differently? Now, we are not seeking perfection here. We just want you to brainstorm ideas, come up with some strategies, something that you have in your back pocket for trying next time, right? Take that deep breath, think this through. We know in those moments of stress, anger, when the person says something to you that triggers you, that makes you feel defensive or angry, right? It's very normal and very natural for you to respond with defensiveness, right? This is where the power of that deep breath comes back in. Yeah.
Amy?
Yes.
I think we have time while people are working on this, that you and I could maybe do a little role play of this.
Ooh, sure.
You up for that?
Okay. We didn't practice this, everyone, so we'll see how I do. Yeah, what do you got?
So how about we role play not so, just like the video does, a not so good interaction and then a better interaction. And how about I've seen a lot in the chat about, as we often do, people living with dementia who want to go home.
Yes. Yes.
So do you want to be my care partner?
Sure.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I'll be the person living with dementia.
Okay.
And so I'm roaming around here and I'm pulling at the doors and the windows, and I've got my purse out and I'm putting it in my purse and gathering things up. And
Mom, it's the middle of the night. What are you doing?
Well, I'm going home. I've got to get my things together here.
Going home? Mom, you are home. This is your home.
No, this is not my home.
Look around. All your things are here. Everything that you're picking up right now, that's all your stuff.
No, these are my things, but this is not my home. No, I need to go home.
Mom, it's the middle of the night, wherever you think you're going, right? We got to get some sleep. We have a big day tomorrow. Could you just put those things down? We'll go home tomorrow.
No, I need to go now.
Right. So me and Mom can go.
My purse here.
She didn't have any actual props for this role play ready for us, so
No,
I like it.
Was on my bed. So.
We could go around and around I was going to say all day long, but all night long, right? With neither one of us getting any sleep here for a good long time. Where am I getting in this interaction?
Well, you're not going to convince me that this is my home, because I'm clearly pushing back and saying it's not.
Yes. Yep. Okay, so
give it a try doing maybe a little better response.
Yeah, let me. I want to think through my idea here. What exactly is Mom doing, right? If I'm tired and worn out, I'm going to say she's being really irritating. She's being really difficult. She's up in the middle of the night. She's keeping me up. Right? We might even call, if she managed to make it out the door, we would call that wandering, right? Yep. She got away, and she probably would end up getting lost, right? There's lots of labels we could apply to that, right? But what she's really doing is gathering her things in preparation for going somewhere else, right? That's really the behavior, right? What might really be causing that behavior? I saw a couple good ideas in the chat, actually. Right? Maybe this person has been cooped up for way too long because of the pandemic right now, right? This person, for whatever reason, feels the need to get out of wherever they are. That's the salient point here, right? That's what I, as the caregiver, the care partner in this scenario, in this case, I'm pretending to be a daughter, that's what I need to latch onto here, is look at what this behavior means to her. To her, she's got to get out of here. I don't need to get into the weeds of why she feels she needs to get out of here. I need to connect to that, right? What's causing the behavior? Confusion, disorientation, day-night reversal, right? Maybe because she thinks it's the middle of the day. She's got some other idea of what home means, right? Could tell her all day long that she is home, but what do you think home is?
Maybe I'm feeling fearful and anxious because I don't feel secure.
Yes, right. Somebody said, maybe this person is thinking of another home from their past, right? Absolutely. We know short-term memory is impacted early in Alzheimer's and many other kinds of dementia, whereas long-term memories, which are stored in a different part of the brain, tend to remain stronger through, for a longer period of time. So when she's saying, I need to go home, right? I'm being very present focused. I'm being very fact focused here and saying, no, this is where you live, right? Because I, of course, am living in the year 2020, and I've got a different sort of set of facts that I'm working with. Yeah. So what could I do differently, right? First, I'm going to give myself a break, because she woke me up in the middle of the night. I'm tired, right? So maybe I'm not going to be at my very best and my sharpest and my kindest and my most patient in this moment, right? But if I sort of hear the rustling and I'm like, here we go, right? She's doing it again. What's the first thing I'm going to do? A deep breath.
There you go.
Right? Before I get out of bed.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Go out there.
All right.
And try it again.
All right, so here we go. I'm packing up my things. I got my purse and everything ready. So I've got to go. I've got to go home.
Hey, Mom, what's going on? What are you doing?
Well, I'm getting my things together because I'm going to go home.
Oh, you feel like you need to go home.
Yes, I need to go right away.
Yeah. It's not real comfortable here right now, right?
No, it's not.
Yeah. You've been here long enough.
Go home. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I hear you. Let me see if I can help you. Can I carry some of these things? Right.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, you can take this for me.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go in the other room. We'll have a quick snack, right? Before we head out.
Could I have a cup of tea?
Yes. Yes, I'll have one too. That sounds good.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. So ultimately, I'm redirecting. I'm trying to get her attention to the kitchen, to a snack, to tea, whatever that other thing might be. But never once did I tell her, right, you need to stop doing this. You're wrong. You've got the facts wrong. Right. In fact, quite the opposite. What did you hear me doing?
You offered to assist me, to
Mhm.
support me. You didn't shut me down. And, none of us wants to be shut down, especially if we're feeling anxious and, about any particular thing, amongst other emotions. But yeah, you did, just as it's here in the chat, you validated me.
Mm-hmm.
You said, you're not feeling very comfortable here. And I said, that's true. Or I'm not quite sure if I said that, but something along those lines. And then the redirection, you said, can I carry this for you? And then I'm giving that to you. And then you're saying, well, let's have a snack. Kind of saying, maybe. You didn't verbally say before you go home, but you had that sense of that in it. And again, so I wasn't being shut down. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think a really great strategy, if you're, thinking back to idea, you're trying to figure out what this behavior is about, you're trying to figure out what's causing it, ask the person questions, right? Not in a demanding inquisition kind of a way, but I open up the interaction by saying, like, what's going on here, right? Where are you going? Trying to get some clues that I could work with. Is she doing this because she's uncomfortable here? Is she doing this because she's got some memory of another home, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Someone here says, I went through a situation like this with my grandfather. I said it was my home and asked if he wanted to sleep over because it was 3 a.m. I didn't want him traveling by himself, gave him some tea and he went back to sleep. Beautiful.
That's just perfect. Beautiful. Yeah. I just went, ah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, what if they keep asking, right? Where would you eventually take them? Right? It's hard to say. This is, I'm reading a question that just came in.
Yeah.
It's hard to say because every individual, every situation, of course, is so different. But I think generally I'd probably just sort of keep them talking, keep the activity going, keep them sort of moving around in that space until I was eventually able to redirect. I probably wouldn't get to the point where I'm taking them in the car somewhere.
I will throw in, I have a family that I've worked with that their person living with dementia was very persistent about going home. And so when the care partners, kind of were at their wits' end in terms of distraction and redirection, they actually did get in the car and they drove around the neighborhood for about 10-15 minutes. And then for these folks, this worked. Then they pulled back up into the driveway or in front of the house and said, look, here we are.
Yes.
And that satisfied the person with dementia in that moment.
Right. Yeah, there's, as Jean indicated at the beginning, there is no universal strategy that we can teach you that will work for everyone, or B, that will work every time, right? There's so many nuances to these situations, and each one of us is different moment to moment, right? Yeah. What we respond to. There's times that somebody being very kind and reassuring with me is going to be very effective. And then there's times that I'm going to just like not feel like hearing that, right? Yeah. So you have to respect that you've got to have a lot of different kind of tools in your toolkit here.
Every day is a different day.
Yeah, that's right.
So with regards to that, we're going to just continue on here. And this is such an important slide for all of you folks as care partners. You do need to develop your safety net. I hope all of you have got a pretty good safety net already, and we want you to grow that. And if you need help with that, we can help you at Alzheimer's San Diego to do that. So I want you to think about, who would you call, if it's an emergency, when the what hits the proverbial fan. who do you call? Who has your back? Who can you really rely on? And you need to for sure have at least 1 or 2 people in that list, and maybe hopefully 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
Are you getting some regular breaks? Respite was referred to earlier. Respite meaning relief. As a care partner, you need some of those breaks, that relief from the constant worry and anxiety and attention and everything else that you have to have every moment of every day as a care partner. You need a break to be able to really just let it go and know your person with dementia is in good hands, under good supervision and oversight in your temporary absence. Have you talked with your family, friends, and neighbors about the situation? And if not, is that a possibility? What would that look like? And think about how they can fill in some of the gaps and be part of your safety net. Even if it's just so much as having neighbors be aware that your person with dementia may wander in the neighborhood. You have them on the lookout. What additional support do you need? And if you don't know the answer to that question, and sometimes people don't, call us and we're going to help you to work that through and figure out what is best for you.
Sorry, so not clicking. There we go.
So to that end, we want you to be aware of this particular program we have at Alzheimer's San Diego. It is called our Alz Companions. It's a virtual program right now, as is all of our programs and services that we're currently offering. We have volunteers who are trained and ready to go. And what they are doing is visiting, providing a companionship visit through our computers or phones or iPads or whatever it is we use. And it is something that both care partners and the people living with dementia can together do the visit, or have just the person living with dementia and have the care partner in another room. It's not 100% respite, but it gives people a little bit of a break. It's a wonderful program. Our colleagues, Amy's and my colleagues, do a fantastic job in terms of the matching process between volunteers and families. So that's a great way to start getting a little bit of respite, and yes, some socialization for your person with dementia during shelter-in-place times.
I just want to add, we just got a sweet chat from someone who's 2 different people sent us chats to say they currently have Alz Companions, and it's working out really well. We have a really good companion. So excellent. That's nice to hear.
That's terrific. I have no idea why it's not letting me advance today. So remember this: when you're overwhelmed, what do? Take a deep breath, people. In and out. And then let's go and have a look at what Alzheimer's San Diego does for you folks. And we do lots. And you can see it all on this particular slide. It's also on our website. Up at the top, www.alzsd.org. And there's our phone number. Call us, go on our website, use live chat, whatever is going to be helpful to you. And we can give you more details about all of these programs and services. And so we are also then going to ask our colleague to come in and talk about a specific support and discussion group that is new. And Ellen is here, and she's going to chat for a few minutes here about this particular group. Bear in mind, we have all sorts of groups. Ellen.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. Yes, we do have all kinds of group. Everybody is welcome to attend as many groups as you want. This new group that we just started, they've only met once, is specifically set up for people who have loved ones in memory care facility or board and care. Such a tough time right now. You can't see your loved one. You can't give them a hug. So this group is for those of you who are in the same situation. You can provide a special kind of support. Our other groups, you're welcome to those also, but this is a great one for you to check out if that is your current situation. You can check the link out that Jean will be putting in the chat. And we look forward to seeing you at any and all, as many of the support groups as you can come to.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you.
And so we've already, I've kind of done this shout out for the different ways you can get in touch with us. And I see Amy did send that link out that you can complete just to request follow-up. And one of our team from our social work team will be contacting you with regards to any of the areas that you need some information or resources or support or just someone to talk things through and do some problem solving.
Yeah, I just want to add it, even if you don't totally know what you need, that's fine with us. A lot of people just call, they're not sure what the right next step is. They need to talk to somebody. That's okay too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're actually pretty darn good at that. If you tell us what's going on, we are pretty darn good at being able to say, well, we think that you could use some respite or an education class or whatever it is that might be. So we do ask for and appreciate your feedback. You will be receiving a link to an online survey about this particular webinar, and please complete that for us. All of your feedback we look at and take to heart, and it is the information that helps us to make our programs better each time around. You'll also be getting a copy of the program that we have had here today, and it will be the slides that we've presented to you here today, so you'll get that. And give it a couple of days and you'll also see the recorded version of the webinar in our webinar library.
Yeah, we had a few questions in the Q&A and in the chat about, can I share this presentation with someone else? And yes, the slides are, you're welcome to share the slides themselves, but the recording will be available within a couple of days. Yeah. We'll send that link out along with the slides.
Absolutely. And then a couple of classes that are coming up here in August, which folks is right next week, is home care, daycare, and memory care on August 11th, talking about all those different resources. And then managing resistance, which is really kind of a sister program to this one, because a lot of what we talked about today with behavior and personality change has resistance involved in it. So that's a terrific class for you to come to for more information. So that is it for today, folks. We thank you for being with us. And as always, thank you for your patience with us as we had some Zoom challenges again today. I just, Zoom, you just never know what you're going to get day to day with Zoom. So
it's a finicky beast. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you all. We appreciate you being here and taking our information, and we hope that we've been helpful.
Thank you all very much. Again, just reach out, let us know if we can get you some more information. I'll go ahead and just put that link out in the chat again one more time. If you want to reach out, have a social worker reach out to you, just send that out, fill out a quick little form. We'll be very happy to follow up with you, or you can contact us anytime. We hope to see you at another program soon. When the webinar ends, you'll get a link to that survey that Jean mentioned, and we'd love your feedback. So thank you all so much for coming, for your sharing and your questions and your contributions and your support of each other. It's really important and really great to see. So
absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Signing off, folks. Take care.